All right. Good day, good day, good day. And I would like to welcome all of you to a wonderful moment in the morning to share with all for success. So, welcome to this space. And here at this wonderful All for Success space, I like to do everything from the positive, very fortunate look at the lives of our wonderful Sussex family. I hope you enjoy seeing things the way that I see things. But if you don't, hopefully you'll sit and listen and perhaps come away with a different perspective. This is a positive, friendly space for the Sussex family and all those who support the Sussex family. Harry and Meghan, Archie and Lilibet, so far. Okay, so there's much more to come. Welcome, 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 and come on in. All right, guys, first off, if you all are interested in having a cup of coffee to sit down and enjoy your time, sitting back, kicking back, relaxing, getting the coffee in, and all of that good stuff, then get that done. Have your coffee and jump on in there. Also, if you instead are out doing a little bit of a workout, a little bit of an exercise, then you know what? Throw your headphones in and get your walk in, your bike ride, your Pilates, and all of that. And probably by the time I get out of here, you'll be finished with your workout. Isn't that great? Yes. But for me, this morning, instead of a cup of coffee, I had to have a cup of tea. I don't know why, but my throat was acting a little odd. So, everyone who is in the podcast world, we know one thing that we have to watch is how our voice operates because that's the instrument that we're working with. Great. So, let's see what's happening out here on the streets of All for Success. Oh, wait, before I get going, let me say good morning to everybody coming on in. Um, so that was for me. Come on in and welcome. As you can see, I left an E off the word welcome. I do not know what was happening there. Let's pretend that didn't happen. Okay. Oh wow. Thank you so much, Lorna Williams. Thank you so much for being here and good morning to you. Behave. Oh, I'm not gonna even. I am definitely not going to admonish you. I know sometimes you guys get up. I love it. So thank you so much for being here. You all don't understand the wonder and the support of all of you super squatties. Just to stop in, even it's just amazing that you know I'm here. I'm fascinated. Joyce Anderson, good morning, morning, morning to you. Thank you. And look at all the wonderful hearts, and I'm so happy that you are here. Thank you for being here this morning. I'm getting up a little late this morning. I don't know what was going on. I was dragging. I cannot explain it. But it's just weird that some mornings I have that moment. But I'm going to definitely move on forward. And I found, which is weird, that if you get up and move fast, all of a sudden you start to feel better. Am I right? So what does that mean? Get up and get out. All of you who are lovers of exercise, keep me posted. Again, don't forget, let me know what kind of workouts you are doing, especially if you're onto something that I can throw into my routine. Perhaps it will help me. I am a mom of adult children. In other words, I look at Harry and Meghan's life story as if I were Doria. I often laugh because I feel that if this pod or this live stream were done by anyone, I'm stepping in for Doria. And I hope I'm doing justice to do that. But that means I have to keep exercising. I have to keep fit. My back hurts all the time. All sorts of pains and aches that I didn't think I would ever have. But you know what? Here we are. So take your vitamins, get out there and exercise. And I'm always one to tell you, please keep up the good work. All right, so if you're staying fit, let me know how fit you are staying. All right, I'm going to back up here on these slides. So here's what I am saying. Remember, the mom of adult children. I'm going to tell you what. Stay on your course. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're working on, however you're moving forward, whatever obstacles you arrive at, whatever hurdles are in your way. I'm your mom, right? And as your mom, stay the course. Thank you, Megan, for doing just that. You know, they had to take the show and put it on pause for a moment due to the LA fires. That was a wise decision. The work that she's doing to help many of the people who are suffering at this time, again, a wise decision. Her maintaining her connection with many of her friends of the past, fantastic decision. Keeping up with the people who suffered tragedy in Texas at Uvalde and having a personal connection with them, fantastic. Keep up that good work. What did she also do? Even in the midst of all of these fires and these tragedies, our wonderful Kerry Washington had a birthday. I can't believe Kerry Washington is 48. Isn't that crazy? But anyway, she had her birthday, and at the birthday party, kind of in a quiet little affair with a bunch of ladies, Megan was there. Megan was spotted. Shh, don't tell anyone. And there was a quick, super fast snap of a photo or a little bit of a video that kind of caught her in the crowd. And oh my goodness, what did that do? It lit up the internet because Megan lights up the internet. That is what she does. And so it was just fabulous, fantastic, and wonderful that she was spotted out and about. Remember, according to the UK tabloid media and press, remember, Harry and Meghan don't have friends. Remember, Harry and Meghan are enemies of everyone. And remember that everyone is supposed to dislike them, right? However, we see every day that is a lie. Yes? And yet, the UK tabloid media maintains its position in lying 100% of the time. They have to always maintain the lie, right? They can't let it go. So Harry and Meghan, first of all, are disliked. Harry and Meghan, first of all, have no friends. Harry and Meghan have no influence, no real work to do. And yet, what do we see? We see them volunteering, we see them working, and we see people appreciating at all times their wonderful interactions. But the lies must be maintained, right? That is the nature of the beast. But what do I say again? Back to parenting. Stay on your course. Don't ever get off your course because the lies will try to drag you into the mud. Don't let it happen. Now, I wanted to kind of punch up on something that I read about, and you all probably know more about this than I do. But every now and then when something catches my attention, I find, maybe this is something I'll chat about. As I promise that I won't be in the chat very, very long and that you can go on about your lives, which you all have found. Maybe that's true, maybe not. Okay, so in this back beautiful misty picture that I found of Diana, you probably can't see it clearly, but it's kind of a misty background. This piece of information that I pulled, it was about the royals in the early half of the 20th century, like the late 1800s. And what they did is they lived in what was known to become called the age of deference. The age of deference. And I know you all have heard this term. It's very common in the UK, especially among English speakers there. The term deference, right? Meaning that you generally defer your, I don't want to say pride, but in a sense, you always behave in a manner that is sub another person, right? You're going to show them deference. It would be similar to being very respectful of your elders or respectful of your leadership in a position, things like that. Showing deference, right? So this in the late 20th century, they began to use that term, the age of deference, and in a reason due to the fact that just being royal, just being in the family of royalty, was starting to become less impactful. In other words, all over the European and extended nations, even into Russia, royal families were being brutally attacked, run up on, and murdered. People had gotten to this place where bringing down a kingdom by slaughtering a family of kings, right? By slaughtering their children and their relatives, that became super common. I mean, it ran from actually the UK. They had similar little issues in the takeovers, a little bit of kerfuffle, and then France and Germany and Greece. These places toppled their monarchs, just removed them in the most brutal of fashions. And so what happens is, as the modern age starts to creep through the late 20th century, they began to think, well, maybe we need to, especially in the UK, come up with another mindset for why people should look upon these people who are running everything, owning everything in name, right? Hoarding all the money, and why people are always throwing tax money at them. We need to come up with a method or I guess, concept to keep the people interested in looking at them in a respectful manner. And thus they coined that phrase, deference, the age of deference. So they were just hoping, I guess, that the British public would continue to respect and defer to them simply because they were born into those royal families, right? So this individual, his name was Disraeli. He passed away in actually in 1880, somewhere around there. And he is the individual who was actually attributed with that common quote that Harry talked about in his book. Now, although this probably was said by other people, and many people have used it in books and things afterwards, it was attributed to this person. And Minister Disraeli, he was actually, I believe, a prime minister of the UK at some point. I can't be sure of that because the name just isn't common to me. It's not like Churchill, right? But his name is listed as an individual who came up with this quote. And that quote was, "Never complain, never explain." Right? And so this ethos was supposed to act as an extension of showing deference to the royal family. In other words, giving them this moniker that they were simply above all other humans. Right? So you should always be very respectful, bowing of the head and all of those type of traditions to this family. And I thought this was an interesting concept, because it was intriguing to me, because that statement, which is used so often, I guess, and attributed to Queen Elizabeth and her mindset when faced with, I would say, unrest from the people, or displeasure in a particular decision. This is what people throw out as Queen Elizabeth's kind of claim to fame. They never complain and they never explain, right? Even though people are marching in the streets and asking questions, that is their behavior. So, that is an interesting character who we're talking about, Disraeli. So I hope that, if you all are interested, you can do far more research than I would ever do. So the possible origin of the quote, supposedly this is a portrait of Disraeli. He was the Earl of Beaconsfield, I believe is how that's pronounced, right? And There is no single person that they attribute to this, but he is listed as someone who's most significant. And it is interesting because the thought process, when you think about that attitude, it is almost one that parents sometimes use with children to their detriment. The do as I say concept, but not as I do concept. Like that you never need to be able to clearly explain or clearly pontificate, rather, on what it is you are doing and the reason why. And sometimes people become very defensive about these type of things because they actually may not have an explanation. They simply may not have any rationale to explain, right? It would be like asking someone, why are you wearing an undershirt? Right? Some people are going to say, well, it keeps me warm, to try to keep away illness or sickness or health or blah, 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 blah. But if you actually were more clear in the explanation, perhaps it would garner more of the participation. But the royal family, they wanted to continue to live by this form of deference. Never explain, never complain. Now, here's the problem. We have not only shifted now from that modern era, which we were calling modern times in the early 1900s, we have now moved into what I believe, now I can't swear to this, but we've moved into an age, completely different age, I believe now, one of information. Is the information age is often referred to. I like to look at this age of technology, an age of inspiration perhaps. And so the old way of just moving forward, the just do it mindset, right? The old grin and bear it mindset, that is slowly being chipped away. Younger people are really not interested in keeping up a stiff keep upping a stiff upper lip. Is that how you say that? Keeping a stiff upper lip. A lot of young people almost despise being told to, well, just deal with it, right? Which is something we heard all of our lives. Coming up in our era, the just deal with it concept was 100%. Don't ask questions. Don't make waves, right? That's who we were. We were born into that. But there's an age coming along behind us where that's not gonna work well. And I believe Harry and Meghan and their behavior, attitude, and posture is very clear. It's extreme clarity that no, doing it just because we always did it that way is not the answer we are looking for. And this is what disturbs the UK royal media, the tabloid press, and of course, the royal firm is terrified by this concept because they now have to come up with a new means to gain respect from the public and to maintain respect. Now, right now, they're trying to hold it down with lies. And guess what? They can see it's not working. The cracks in that posture are everywhere. Many people who were watching some sport over the weekend, they were howling and at the prince derogatory terms and singing derogatory cheers while he was sitting there. So this is a complete and utter reversal of the mentality that the royal firm thought that they could continue to project. But it's because times are changing, attitudes are changing, shifting a little bit. It's not that you have to throw everything away, but it means that you now need to add a little bit of consideration in how things are done going forward. What do you think about that, folks? I mean, does that make sense, what I'm saying? Or have I lost my mind? Okay, let me take a quick moment here. Again, let me welcome you guys again before I get to look chattering too long. Let's see who else is in the comments, if anybody. If not, let's see what the comments are saying. So Miss Lorna Williams, once again, she's saying, oh, is that Joyce Anderson? What am I saying? It says, keep showing up and doing good and putting good vibes into the atmosphere. Thank you. So look, you see the sweet things people say to me. You see how sweet that is? Thank you so much. I appreciate that more than you will ever know. What? I had no problem with mess is here. If you cannot laugh at yourself, life is boring. Absolutely 100,000% true. 100,000% true. And Lorna Williams also said she started school in the UK. Deference to the royal family was started from kindergarten. Aha! Aha! That makes perfect sense, because it would be a complete and possible way to continue to coach that thought process. The 60s and 70s were the era of protest. Yeah, the Vietnam War, women's rights, Black Panthers, of course. that was popular when I was young. And this went the era of just keep your head down and make money. Now, you are absolutely kind of correct in that timeline. And I will attest to the fact that, especially growing up, what I would call mid Black Panther era, the Black Pride and all of that era, and then moving into what started to feel like it was approximately the early 80s. It was an era where you were starting to feel like people were trying to get along. It was an era of let's hang out and do things together, and maybe we'll try to get along with each other, right? But it was somewhat false, right? As we can now discern. And you are correct. The 80s was all about everyone trying to be famous and everyone trying to be fabulous and everyone in the background trying to make as much money as they possibly could. That is absolutely correct. At least in the US, that's what was happening. And I'm assuming that this kind of filtered out all around the world. It was somewhat, the 80s were somewhat of a music was changing, let's all party era, right? Now, those ahead of us had partied unabashedly, but in the 80s and the 90s, we were coming into kind of what we were thinking was a youth movement, sort of a takeover of new ideas. We thought things were going to be so fresh and so new. The interesting aspect was, once we started to hit the workforce, it became very eye-opening to us as we began to hit areas of the workforce that we could make great inroads, but there were forks in the roads, meaning you had to make some choices as to how kind of a person you were going to be as opposed to how wealthy of a person you were going to be. How much money you were going to make by how many friends you were going to drop along the sideline. This is somewhat, I guess, a result of the 80s and the 90s, right? So now here we are, and all of those folks are your parents, right? The greed, the we're going to make money hand over fist. Maybe we did well financially. Maybe we started to do well financially. But guess what came along with it, especially in the 80s and 90s? The largest levels of corruption that just decimated the public. And then this is where young people are coming in. Those born in the 90s and coming on up. So we definitely could take a deep dive into that period of time and analyze some of these specific things you know? But that's kind of how things started to work out. And so that deference, like you said, that being taught, is why these people featured here have to do all the dirty work. Because no one else is going to explain. No one else pretends to complain. But they put out their methods and their messages through all of these folks who are simply going to do their dirty work for them. You have the person who is yelling every day how much Harry betrayed his family. Betrayed, betrayed, betrayed. I mean, really? Like I remind everyone, were it 1350, Harry would have murdered everyone in that household. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to say that, am I? Let's just go back. Let's repeat. It's not the present way to say it. Let's say I'm talking about a television show, right? Were this a television show about the medieval days of royalty, as in Henry VIII coming to power, there would not have been a relative left to talk about it. There wouldn't have been a relative around to explain whether there was a betrayal or not. Because in this environment, the person who had the power and the strength would have simply gotten rid of everyone else. And as we watch this play out here in the media, now I understand why they did that. In the old days, I used to watch those movies and wonder, why would they do all that? But now watching what was done to Harry and Meghan and Hal, watching how this entire machine put itself together to use other people, to pull the rug out from under Harry and Meghan at every turn, and to continue that pursuit without relent. It's been almost 10 years. And without relent, the same stories are in the paper. Oh, the bullying. She was calling people at 5 a.m. I mean, 10 years later? Really? Is there a statute of limitations on the royal firm complaining? But they're still doing it. You know, I ran through a whole bunch of troll accounts implying that, oh, Invictus is canceled. Why in the world would you even say something like that? This man has a schedule out on the web. They're talking about people who are going to perform at the show. Different things that they're doing, the medals and the openings. And you guys who are going have tickets already. And these people are putting out lies like that. Why are you doing this? For what gain? What will you get in exchange for this? This clownish, buffoonish behavior. And people are beginning to see it. It's only what I call those who can be deceived. The great deception. They cannot let go. And they will basically perish because they cannot be awakened to the deception. So they will just be left behind. But they constantly will keep these people doing all their dirty work. Because above all things, our royalty is to be revered. Okay? And if you begin to poke at it, right? If you begin to poke at it and you cannot continue your reverence, here's what they say. Its mystery is its life. And we must not let daylight upon magic. Right? You see, they consider their existence and their operation to look magical. Now think about that. In other words, they know everything about themselves is unreal, phony. But that was also a part of the quote. Don't explain. Never explain, never complain. That was a part of the process. Because for them, they were performing magic, keeping things mysterious. And the lifestyle of Harry and Meghan, they felt, would have uncovered all of that. And because of their harassment of them, it did. The very thing they tried to avoid. is the very issue they themselves caused. So if they're ever out here listening, I hope they pay attention and understand that. All right, guys, now on for the fun stuff. For those of you who have tickets and are hopping out, headed to Vancouver, if any of you are going to join in and run up the road to Canada, now listen, I would have no problem as a last minute flight. I have a cousin that lives in Vancouver. That's right. I am not above just flying up there with nothing to do with Invictus except to wander around the town and see if I run into anyone associated with the games. I am definitely thinking about that possibility. I would do it. Now, you know what? Especially if I were young. If I were 20, 30 years old, I would get on a plane in a heartbeat just because I want to see what it looks like, especially Vancouver. But I would like to travel there anyway. So I pulled, of course, the lineup that is coming up with Invictus Games. And guys, again, we're going to stay the course. No matter what these people pull, no matter what rabbit of magic the UK tabloid fake media lying press pulls out of the hat, we are going to stay the course. And what's coming up for us next is the Invictus Games. Now, we're still on hold for our wonderful Duchess and her fantastic Netflix series. Let me see if I can pull that clip up for her Netflix. What do you call it? Her Netflix production. I don't know if I can get to that, but let's go.
I've always loved taking something pretty ordinary and elevating it, surprising people with moments that let them know I was really thinking of them.
What? This is probably one of the most glamorous moments of my life. It's magic.
Let's go. I've always loved taking something pretty ordinary and elevating it, surprising people with moments that let them know I was really thinking of them.
What? This is probably one of the most glamorous moments of my life.
I just love that short clip. I really, really do. And I think that at least the portions where she'll be giving out great recipes and very wonderful tactics on doing little things, I'm going to be there, people. I'm there for it. So I hope you all are going to be there for it as well. All right, all right, all right. So let's see where we are in my slide deck here. Hang on one second, people. Don't you guys get me in trouble, because you know I get over here and get to acting up. Okay, once again. All right, once again, folks, let me remind you, if you get a moment, please hit the like button for me. Drop a thumbs up, drop a comment, and of course, I hope that I can power up my slides and do my work in such a way that you all will enjoy it. Lorna Williams tells us that they are hoping that the lies will overpower the internet, like when Kate copies everything Meghan wears. If you Google Meghan's brown coat, guess what comes up? A photo of Kate. Yes. See, in the internet realm, and as we have been actually privy to here in the States, watching it from the horror seats, where you are becoming extremely aware that control of the transmission medium gives a specific amount of power to those who have the controls. Right? Now, I mean, in the old-fashioned days, you knew that the people who put the cable in the ground for the telephone, basically they controlled how you communicated. And the internet is becoming quite like that. The more that security features are fine tuned. The internet used to be very wide open. Of course, you could see things you didn't need to see. But this funneling of information specific to gain certain types of, I would say, propaganda processes. It lets you know that even though the internet is a great place for information and looking for things, it is also a controlled mechanism. And from our point of view here in the US, you can see the amount of money that is behind, in and around, and on top of how you see the messages that you see. And let's face it, the royal family is exactly that. It is the empire in the background that has tentacles down to the minute level in everything. But like I said, even though that is the fact, they have been toppled in almost every nation. And that price that was paid, unfortunately, it was in blood. So let's see how we move forward in this time period, right? Meanwhile, I want to see everyone at the Invictus Games, especially at the opening. You know what is surprising to me, though? I see Katy Perry is listed as someone joining the opening ceremony. Didn't you all, is it just me? Or didn't you all think that was kind of odd? I don't know. Just a question. Let me know if you have an answer for that. Okay, so as I begin to wrap up, and yes, it's really cool. I'm beginning to wrap up, and I always give a chance to tell you guys, yes, I like to pull up a Bible verse here or there, something kind of gives me a little bit of an uplift, makes me think a little bit, or something I can look into a little bit more, right? But I'm not recruiting you for any particular type of religious cult. You know, I'm not going to have you out doing anything in particular in support of me. And, and so this is just Bible verses really to enhance my own thought processes. And I hope that you too are encouraged by something that I read. So I'm going to zoom on down to Ephesians 6:11 through 17. Although I may not go all the way through it, I encourage you, if you're a Bible reader, to check out Ephesians and what this conversation came about and came from. Because basically, we're talking about how to, like I always do, I try to point out how you try to protect yourself in times when things are coming up against you. There's opposition, and you need to have uplift, right? And Ephesians says, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. Now, quick insight. Biblically, these type of things that are armor are actually specifically listed in Ephesians. So the things are like prayer, maintain your health, staying focused on your goals, putting God first in the things that you are pursuing and doing. Is this the right thing for me to do and pursue? And if it's nothing unrighteous, then pursue that thing. Put on the whole armor of God. So he's going to list in Ephesians and other areas, like they have specific things that they're associating, like the helmet, right? So just remember, prayer and all of these things are to keep you protected from the schemes of the devil. And it says, because for we do not wrestle against the flesh and blood. In other words, you're not really fighting sometimes a specific individual, although there are times that you are. But in our overall existence, you're not really wrestling against a body, a person, but you are against the rulers, against the authorities, and against cosmic power over this present darkness. In other words, you have to be aware that the functionality of our world, universe, however you would like to look at it, has been set in motion. And there is a structure that is within that motion, right? And that is what you feel like you're constantly in opposition with. And so you are against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Consider that. You're dealing with forces of evil that are in high places, right? Heavenly is the term they use. What is meant? Powerful people who are sitting up in authority, places of authority, and they're just constantly stirring up trash. So he's saying, therefore, take up the whole armor of God. He also indicates later in Ephesians, you need a shield. You're going to need to pick up a shield that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand firm. And it says, stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, right? Because that was also a part of the armor. And having put on the breastplate, you need to cover up your heart and lungs. Put on the breastplate of righteousness. And as shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace. In other words, put on the shoes and know that you're going to have to keep ready and be moving. Yes? That's what I like to put out there. And I hope that that is encouraging to you as we continue to support our Sussex family, knowing that they too have to be in the full armor of God. Don't take anything off. Put more stuff on, because it's always something in opposition. So stay ready. I want to thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you coming and listening to me ramble. I hope I didn't keep you too long. And I just enjoy seeing you guys here in the comments. And Lorna, thank you so much one more time. You said, yes, it is weird, but Megan went to Katy Perry concert earlier. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, you think they may have come to a conclusion of understanding. Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay. I'm gonna let that slide. Okay, but at the same time, I hope Megan keeps on her full armor of God. Okay, because she's gonna need it. Something. All right. I'm just, paying attention. Thank you. Thank you so much. But thank you guys, all of you, for being here. I appreciate it so much. And as we get ready to roll out, give yourselves a round of applause.